Greetings, everybody, and welcome into my latest live broadcast. Today it's the 23rd of January, 2024. It's Tuesday. Welcome in, as we have another mini PC to review today, this time from our friends over at Minisforum. Some people have written in and said, these high-end Minisforum PCs are impressive, but is there anything they sell that's perhaps a little more approachable to those of us on a budget? And there is, of course. When we lower the price, we also lower the upgradability and performance. However, not everybody needs all that. I mean, everybody potentially wants it, but it doesn't mean you're going to utilize it if you have it. So today we're going to take a look at the budget-friendly entry-level Minisforum. This is the, I want to make sure I get the name right, UN100L. Now, before we get into that, let me say hello to all of you. Welcome in, welcome back. And if you're new here, hope you'll check out our different style of YouTube video where we interact with you guys live in the chat room. I don't know many other YouTube channels that do what we do, and I do believe you're going to see more of this in the future as more and more people want to be involved with the show instead of just passively watch it like television. I think we're kind of ahead of the game here as some of the early innovators in being able to talk to our audience. I mean, imagine being able to have an interaction anywhere in the world, live on camera, with your favorite celebrity. What other chance would you get to talk to them? Not that I'm at that level, but I can imagine how cool that would be if I were able to, I don't know, have a conversation, even just to say hello or I like your work, to some of my favorite celebrities, even if it's in chat, it's not a face-to-face. I think that's pretty darn cool. Right now, your odds of talking to Tom Cruise, if you wanted to, pretty slim to none. So I think this is the future of, if not YouTube, I think it's the future of media, essentially. And that way, instead of being a studio audience, where you've got to go to a location, which is often in New York or California. What about the rest of us? Well, this enables a studio audience to be around the world and to involve a lot more variety and diversity of people and their questions and involve more people other than just what's local. So I think it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it, and I think we're going to see more of this. So remember I said that. That's all I'm saying. All right, let me say a shout out and a thank you to those who've already contributed in our super chat. It looks like we have a few people here that have contributed prior to the show beginning. Gregory Howard with $20 in super chat. Thank you, Gregory. He says, hello, Carey, and all in chat. Good day to you all from Greg. Right on. Thank you, Greg. Good day to you, too. I said good day. Paul O'Brien joins us from Ireland with a €5 contribution. Says, good evening. It's afternoon here. And Ben Laird joins us from Scotland with a £2 contribution, saying hello from a windy Scotland. Well, we're reversing places today, I think, because, well, thank you, Ben. Here in Phoenix, it's just downpour, a lot of rain, and it's been that way for the last 3 days. Maybe not downpour, but rain, nonetheless. And then the rest of this week, I think we're not scheduled to have rain, but we're going to be overcast, I think, the rest of the week, which is unusual. We're a very sunny state. So having gray days for us is uncommon. So that's what's going on here in Phoenix. Have you backed up your computer recently? Because if not, this is your reminder to do so. Nobody cares about your data. It's yours, and it only matters pretty much, it's only meaningful to you. It's worthless to everybody else, generally speaking. And if you don't make copies of that data, there's going to be very little help or sympathy when something happens, whether it's a drive failure, corruption, virus, ransomware, accidental deletion. I mean, there's lots of different ways people lose their data. Natural disasters, floods, hurricanes, earthquakes, fires, burglaries. I can't name all the different ways. So if you can't be bothered to take a moment to make copies of things that are important to you, it's kind of hard to feel sorry for you, because any sort of data recovery is very iffy. Sometimes they can recover data, sometimes they can't. It's always very expensive, like $1,000 or more expensive, and it usually takes a few weeks. If you backed up your own stuff that only matters to you, you could recover your data in minutes for free. Some people say, yeah, I don't know how to do that. I've heard how important it is, but I have no idea how to do it. Well, you can get Acronis. Our friends here at Acronis are offering you guys a 30% discount all year round. So pick up the trial if you've never used it. Go back and watch our most recent Acronis video where we walk you through making your backup. And a restore is always free. So even if you don't buy the Acronis software, or pay for a subscription, I should say, and you only make that one backup and you never update it, then at the very least, you've got something. Now, maybe 2 years from now, something happens, and it will happen. It's inevitable, unless you die first. All right, I'm just saying, one of those two things is going to happen first. And probably you're going to have data loss, and it's going to be unexpected. It's not like, oh, I'm updating my computer, I should probably back it up first. No. You should be updating your computer because everything's working well. That's the time to do it, not because you're about to do something. I should put car insurance on my car because I'm going to take a long road trip. But yet most car accidents happen within 5 miles of where you live. So that doesn't make any sense. It's always going to be when you least expect it. So if you were to make a backup with Acronis using the free trial software, and then you never updated that backup because you never bought the software, but you held on to that backup, then 2 years later, when something happens, let's just say, we're picking a random date, you could still put the Acronis software back on your computer and choose to restore it without having to buy a license. Acronis allows for you to restore any backups without having to pay any money. I mean, I would have done it the other way around, but that's why I'm not in charge. In any event, any data you will have added since the backup in the last 2 years, or however long it's been, will be gone forever. But at least you've got something, and that'll mean a lot to you. Trust me, I've been in this business a long time, and people get pretty darn emotional when these things happen for a number of reasons. Sometimes they have photographs, pictures of a vacation they went on, a once-in-a-lifetime vacation, child or a loved one that's passed away, or a birth of a newborn, and that's all the pictures they had. That's the only copy they had, and when that copy goes bye-bye, that's it. It's gone forever. So it's up to you. You make up your mind. You live with your choices, and our thanks to our friends at Acronis for making it so easy, and it's very affordable. There's no reason for you not to back up your stuff unless you simply don't care. Also, when I'm talking about Acronis, I have to talk about Instant House Call, because that's the remote software that I use. When clients call me and I need remote access into their machines, I have a choice of many different remote access programs to use, but only one is designed for technicians, and that's Instant House Call. So that's got some tools and utilities built in for repairing computers that I think there's somebody at the door. Don't mind that. I'm expecting some packages today. So when it comes to Instant House Call, it's a very easy thing for me to tell somebody who has no computer savvy, let's say. They're not technically, look, if they were technically capable, they probably wouldn't be calling me for help. So just getting a notice from OBS that we're a little bit, our signal's a little weak. Okay, I think it just came back. All right, so in any event, just watching my signal strength here. A lot of things happening at the same time. Okay, so with Instant House Call, there's a free trial. It's run by a small company. The owner's name is Corey Fruitman. We have an interview with Corey. Actually, we've done a few of them, and we've walked through the installation and some samples of how to use it, some demonstrations. Be sure and try these out for yourself. They're all guaranteed. Anything I'm endorsing here, basically, give them a shot, decide for yourself. Everybody's got different expectations, different values, and so these are products that I actually use, and that's why I've reached out to them and asked them to support us here, and they've agreed. So we really appreciate their support, and hopefully you guys will support them back. There's $10 from Planet Cryos. He says, hey, Carey, Yes, everyone, back up your stuff before you need it. You will thank me and Carey. I use Acronis daily for auto backups and verifying them, plus manual backups when needed. Why is there motion at the front door again? Anyway, hopefully we'll get through these interruptions. Of course, they have to happen right at the start of a live show, but that's the beauty of live shows. You know they're real, unedited, unscripted, and stuff like this happens because this is what happens in life, right? You're sitting at home having dinner, and then there's an interruption at the door. We all go through this. And so all I'm doing is opening up a window to the life as a computer repair tech. I do fix and repair and build computers for a living, as I've done for over 30 years. And I try to share as much of that with you while also evaluating and reviewing mini PCs, routers, networking gear, etc., keyboards, mice, monitors, etc., etc. And I will occasionally, if there's a scam going on, I want to bring you, make you aware of the scams so that you can be protected and be ready when you get that scam call. So we cover a lot of different areas, as well as take your questions and do our best to provide an answer. Not to mention, we have an amazing community here. Not only are they intelligent, but they're kind. And, you know, whether or not you're intelligent is not a prerequisite. I'm not that bright. You know, here I am doing this stuff. After 30 some odd years, 33 years, after repeating some of the same things over and over and over again, just get really adept at it. So it's not a matter of being smarter than anybody else. It's a matter of just having more experience. And I certainly want to share that with you. And we have many members of our community who also want to share their experience. They're also very knowledgeable. So if you have any questions, be sure and ask in our live chat room. And if I don't answer, or even if I do, be sure and check with the live chat as well, because they might have answers that are better than mine or more accurate than mine. It's not uncommon. And if you get multiple suggestions, then you weigh through them and decide which one, but it's all free for you. And if you enjoy our community and you're a kind person, it doesn't matter about anything else, as long as you're kind, then we hope you'll join us and be a part of this amazing community we've got here. It's unlike anything I've seen on the internet, where people tend to be nasty to each other. That doesn't last here in this community. Be kind. Can't be kind. Be quiet. If you can't be kind or quiet, you can leave or be kicked out. That's how that works. So we don't want to kick anybody out. You really don't want to. So it's not difficult to be kind. And let's see what we got going on in the chat. Have I tried AnyDesk remote tool? That's what James Bond in the chat room wants to know. Well, AnyDesk, unfortunately, my experience with them has been a lot of scammers using it. So for me, AnyDesk, it's not a repair. It's just a remote tool. There are no remote software that I'm aware of that are designed for technicians. You know, I need basic tools to get in and do the maintenance on computers, or sometimes repairs for virus or malware removal and things like that. And these things are all built into Instant House Call. Whereas with other remote tools, especially like free tools, there's no file transfer and stuff like that, or it's extraordinarily slow, where I need to transfer over a file utility to do something to Windows to repair it. And essentially, for me anyway, I found Instant House Call to be the most robust as well as the most affordable out of all of them I've tried. Have you tried Instant House Call? That's my question for you. Now, if you're not a tech, you know, as far as basic remote access goes, it does that, but it's a little overkill, but it still might be cheaper. On the other hand, if you're just looking for a free tool, and that's all you need is just remote keyboard and mouse, and that's already built into Windows Pro anyway, but to each their own. All right, let's see. Remember, the folks over at Instant House Call are supporting us. The people at AnyDesk and other remote software are not supporting us. So if you ask me, first of all, what do I use? In the real life, I use Instant House Call, regardless of their support. But then if you're going to ask me what I think of other remote software, well, none of those other remote software have ever supported us. So I'm going to be very leery to give my support to them if it's not reciprocated, except if I use it in real life. And in this case, I use Instant House Call in real life, and that support is reciprocated. And that's the order of how it works. It's generally not they're approaching me first, and then I'm becoming a fan. I'm a fan first, and I reach out to them. Now, I've reached out to a few other companies for products that I like and have not been able to work out an arrangement. And so I really don't talk about them much here unless I'm using them. I still use them. Not punishing them, right? But at the same time, I'm also not overly promoting them like I'm doing for Acronis, Instant House Call, RoboForm, and VIP CDK deals. Without them and without your support, we don't have a channel. I mean, it's just down to finances. They're offloading some of the burden financially that I come out here and I'm asking for memberships. I appreciate your super chats, and everything helps so that we can create more content. The less money we have, the less content we can. And if we don't have any sponsors that are helping pay the bills, and it's just relying on you guys and YouTube, we're only making a couple videos a week, if that, maybe even a couple videos a month based on how much they cost. But be that as it may, that's just the reality of it, right? So when these companies support us and you enjoy this content, the best thing you can do is give those companies a fair shake. They're all free trials. They're all discounts just for you guys, and they're all guaranteed. So I don't know what more you could ask. If you don't like it, you don't like it, but at least give them a shot. Okay, so let's take a look. Yes, I do try to be as transparent as possible, even to my own detriment sometimes, but it is what it is. And I'd rather be honest about it than, I don't know, pretend like everything's fine while the building's on fire behind me. There's PSC Computers Missouri saying hello in the chat, and Ron Barnish says hello. Frank Jimmy and Paul O'Brien, Liz Stevenson, Douglas Burchell. There's Oystein. Oystein, a very generous and frequent contributor here. Always good to see you, my friend. I want to give a special shout out and thank you to our good friend Buster. That's Peter Laycock out in Scotland, who sent us a very generous Amazon gift card this morning. As always, Peter, thank you so much for your continued generosity, your friendship, and just for being the all-around cool dude that you are. We're lucky to have you here. I don't know if he's joined us today, but it's very late in Scotland, so he might be in bed. But he'll watch these videos later, and when you do, there's a message for you. Hi, Buster. Dave Batt saying hello. And Robert Mortensen, Dan Nilsson, John Sparrowzik, all saying hello. $10 in super chat from PSC Computers Missouri. Says data preservation should be your #1 priority, either in business, client data, or individuals. You will be so happy to know that you are covered. Well, you can lead a horse to water. So, people that aren't going to listen aren't going to listen. You can spout out all the wisdom you want. If they ain't listening, you might as well be speaking another language. Carey, are there any current or returning scams that you know of? That's what Ahead246 wants to know. There's always scams going on, and they're going to get worse with AI. They're going to get more convincing. Current scams are everything from jugging, which is where you're at an ATM and you're not paying attention to your surroundings and people are watching you and they're going to follow you, assuming you just took money out, and then, threaten to hurt you, harm you if you don't give them that money. And they might follow you home. There's been a lot of that, although that's primarily happening in California, sort of in the Northwest, Pacific Northwest. However, doesn't mean it's not happening elsewhere. There's a lot of crime happening in Houston as well. Just some pretty bold, brazen crimes happening in the middle of the day. So that's some real stuff. And then with regards to scams, there's people saying they'll call you and say they're the IRS. And if you don't pay this money, you're going to be arrested. There's people saying that they've got your child held hostage, or it's your child calling saying, I need help. And, may not sound like your child, but then you think, well, they're kind of freaked out right now, and maybe that's their voice under stress. None of it's true. None of that is true. And the way you would know is you'd say, hold on a second, call the person that claims to be on the phone with you and see if you get the same person, right? You know their number, call them. So, John, hold for a second. Let me call you right back, or call me back in 5 minutes. I don't know. Find an excuse to either put them on hold if you know how to do that with your cell phone, or just hang up the phone. They will call you back. If you don't even say anything other than just hang up the phone, pretend like you were disconnected, not your phone. And while you're disconnected, make a call to that supposed loved one that's held hostage. But more times than not, you're going to find out they're just fine and they don't know what the hell you're talking about. So be aware of that. Anytime that people, they either want to come in your house for like a water sample, don't let people in your home. Even if they claim to be from the water company, even if they have a little employee badge, it's all fake. It's all fake. They say they're from the power company. Unless you set up an arrangement to have them come over, they just don't show up. All right. So it doesn't matter what they're dressed like or what they look like. And at the very least, if you just want to be sure, you have them wait at the door, close the door and lock it, by the way. Make a phone call to the company they claim to be with and see if that's legit. And don't call the number they provide you with, because they'll give you a scam number. You need to call the company yourself. Go grab your latest bill. Look at what the phone number is for customer service. You call and say, are you sending someone out to my house? And if they say no, your next phone call should be to the police. And then if you're brave enough and you're bold enough, then you just try and bide your time until the police show up. Try and keep them there, basically, without letting them in. Maybe ask questions and be skeptical without giving away the fact that you're stalling. And then the police can come and arrest them. Otherwise, if you give away too much or you don't want to get involved, just simply don't go back to the door. Eventually, they'll figure out you're not coming back. There's no reason to be polite to these people. So you don't have any obligation to return to the door and say, I'm not letting you in. You just don't go back to the door. That's why you lock it behind you so they don't let themselves in. Now, there's always different scams going on. These are the ones we know about. But anytime somebody's claiming something is a dire emergency, there's some urgency, especially if they want you to pay right now, it's a scam. It's always a scam. No legitimate operation does that. Unless you're under collections for bills you haven't paid, but then you're going to know because they know exactly how much you owe, right? It's not going to be some random phone call, and they're never going to ask you to pay in gift cards or Western Union. That's just never going to happen. So those are dead giveaways. So what I do and what I recommend you do is do not answer phone calls from phone numbers you do not know. In my cell phone, I have all of my friends and contacts listed in my phone book on my phone. If your number is not in my phone book, you immediately don't ring my phone. You go to my voicemail. It won't even ring my phone. If I block you, it still lets you call me, but instead of the phone ringing, you just go, before the first ring, you're already at my voicemail. I don't even know what's going on until I check my phone and it says, you've missed a call. Now, in most cases, in my experience, those missed calls never leave a voicemail. And if they don't leave a voicemail, it's probably a scammer. Almost 99% it's a scammer, at least in my experience. When my customers call me from a number they've never called before, they go right to my voicemail and they say, Carey, it's so-and-so customer and we're having a problem. Can you call us back? They leave a voicemail. So blocking a number doesn't prevent them from doing anything other than disturbing you and ringing your phone. Just FYI. It's a very effective means of avoiding scams. It works really, really well. And if a phone call gets through where it doesn't get blocked automatically and it's just a phone number that has no name associated with it because it's not in your phone book, don't answer it. When has that ever worked out to be a good idea? What example and precedent do you have to say, oh, that could be Publishers Clearinghouse calling me to tell me I've won? They'll call again if it's that important. And they will leave a voicemail if it's important, if it's genuine. So if they don't leave a voicemail, it's not somebody you wanted to talk to. And those two rules right there. Turn on your phone, there's the option to only allow calls to go through that are in your phone book. And your phone may even have an option in the settings to automatically block suspected junk calls or scam calls. So when that happens, they're automatically blocked regardless of the settings on your phone. And that was instituted last year by a lot of phone companies. And in this way, you're not tempted. Then you've got the people that are bold enough to show up in person. I had a gentleman show up at the door here at Studio B, and I have a no soliciting sign. Now, it's kind of hard to enforce that, right? But it's bold and it's right there in the middle of the door. And it also says, please, please don't disturb, and thank you for respecting our privacy. So it's a polite sign. It's not, threatening. Person rings the doorbell anyway. And they say, hi, I'm from, it's like a solar. And I'm not really listening to a word he says. I'm just waiting for him to shut up. Because I'm focused on my questions. I'm not listening to anything they have to say. I'm just waiting for my turn. And when it's my turn, I say, did you not see the no soliciting sign? Is it not big enough? And this kid says to me, well, I saw the welcome mat, so I was confused. I said, I don't have a welcome mat. What welcome mat are you referring to? Can you show me where it says welcome? And he kind of looked around and he went, oh, shoot. Well, when the speed limit's 65, you do 85, right? I go, no. See how I controlled the conversation? We're no longer talking about why he was there to sell me solar or some other nonsense. And then he said, well, I'll be sure to put you on our list to not disturb you in the future. Thank you. Have a nice day. So it doesn't have to get rude. It doesn't have to get threatening or hostile. But I genuinely wanted to know why did you not see the sign? And why did you choose to ignore it? And his answer was, I saw the welcome mat, which I don't have a welcome mat. So he was already ready to go with an excuse he's used a million times before. And this idea that the welcome mat somehow confuses him, it doesn't confuse him. It's welcome to people that are invited. It's not no trespassing and yes, please trespass. It's not a conflicting, as a poor excuse. But the person who asks the questions, whether you're talking to police, or you're talking to a judge, or you're talking to a salesman. The person who asks the questions is the one leading the conversation. That's the one steering the conversation. So when you get asked a question, when you provide an answer, you're defending yourself. If you answer the question with a question, you flip it so they have to defend themselves. And if you're dealing with somebody who realizes what you're doing and they fire a question back, you say, well, look, you just ignore their question. Say, this conversation isn't going anywhere. Have a nice day. You don't have to allow somebody to manipulate you like that. And feel free to use the manipulation right back to them. That's how it works. It's very simple once you realize the psychology involved. I was raised to be polite, but I don't need to be polite to someone who's trying to steal from me or scam from me. They don't deserve my courtesy. At the same time, I don't curse them out. I politely dismiss them. And if there's any issue with that, I call the police. That's it. I'm not going to get worked up over it. Getting me worked up is manipulating me. I don't want people to treat me like a puppet. And it's my choice. It's my consent that I give to allow people to have that effect. And I choose to no longer give it. Okay, so there you go. Looking through the chat, Mark Leibowitz said he used to have a welcome mat that said, oh no, not you again. Joe Justice said he had a publisher clearinghouse phone call scam that is from Jamaica. Yeah, a lot of these scammers will call from another country where US law is not enforceable. Let's see. Mark Gaines with a 10-pound super chat says, Carey, my Samsung 860 Evo firmware won't install. Keeps telling me rapid mode is on and to disable it. How do I disable rapid mode? You install, if you don't already have the Samsung Magician software, and in the Samsung Magician software is an option for rapid mode. If it's already off, turn it on, reboot, and then turn it off. If in fact you do see that it's on, turn it off and reboot. Then your firmware should install just fine. That's an easy one. Thank you for the contribution. Nick Poverman said the UPS scam is back as well. Yeah, sometimes you'll get texts on your phone claiming to be from the post office or FedEx or UPS claiming they're having trouble delivering a package. When has that ever happened in real life? When have you ever been contacted by any of the mail delivery services by phone? Pretty unusual. I know if I get an address wrong or FedEx is having a hard time getting access to like a gated area in like some apartment complexes or gated communities, one of the reasons FedEx requires the phone number for the recipient that I'm sending it to is so they can call them and say, we got your package here. But you would know that. You know you have a package coming. It's not like somebody's just randomly sending you packages. And like if you ordered a computer from me, you'd get a tracking number with an ETA. So you're expecting it. You're looking forward to receiving your computer. You'd be checking your ETA. And when you log in, it'll verify, problem delivery, contact FedEx. And so you'd contact them to arrange, in most cases, to hold it at the nearby FedEx store for you to go and pick it up. But as far as like getting a text message, UPS isn't going to text you. If you signed up for the UPS service to be alerted when packages are being delivered to you, that is a legitimate service, but they don't ask you to do anything. DHL will let you know if you sign up for their service that a package is en route that requires a signature. And you can click here and check a box if you do not want the signature required for a hands-free, what do they call that? Because of the pandemic and stuff, where they drop it off and you don't have to talk to them. But if you live in an area where there's package theft, porch pirates, then you can obviously just leave that, don't respond to it. You know a package is coming, and when it's there, you're going to have to sign for it. I personally like to just say, just leave the package by the door. No signatures necessary. We're in a good neighborhood. Never had a problem. Hopefully it stays that way forever. But things can change once somebody discovers there's a good neighborhood. They'll change that real quick. But Phoenix is a big place, and there's a lot of a big population, and so the thieves are busy, typically in other areas that aren't so what's the word I want to use? Essentially, everybody here has cameras and security, and is upper. I would say this neighborhood is an upper middle class neighborhood. So in the poorer areas, especially, this stuff is bad. In many cases, the people stealing are from that very area, and they're stealing from their own neighbors, which is unfortunate. They're not generally driving to another side of town. They're not generally going to some exclusive neighborhood that's super high end, because there's going to be a lot more security there, even though the stuff to steal is probably going to be better. They're just looking for whatever the least amount of work is, so they can go get whatever little bit of money they can to get their next fix. In most cases, it's a sickness, and they need help. And this is how they deal with it, unfortunately, until our country realizes these people are sick and treat this as an illness instead of as a, the addiction problem here. Punishing people for their addictions is very different from people who are just committing crime just because they're bored. So hopefully in my lifetime, I'll see our government evolve, recognize this properly, get these people help and not punishment. That's what they need. In the meantime, as long as the wheel keeps going around, this is what we have to live with. And no matter where you live, you're not immune from it. It's happening close by. All right, let's talk about better things. Hey, there's Rick Lakes joining us, and Michael Dane, he's the man. Jim KJ3N says hello. There's Chris Johnson and Chris Mole say hello. There's Jason Willis, Paul Connolly, and Garfield Rupe, Steve Mercur, and Joe Justice, Gary Tatum. There's our friend Luke Greenia from Vermont. Contactless delivery, says Frank Jimmy. Yeah, I guess those were the words I was looking for. I'll tell you what, it's an interesting place to be. As a Gen X, teenager in the 1980s, I can remember the lyrics to thousands of songs, but I can't remember why I just walked into the room. What did I come in here for? And sometimes words that I don't use often, like contactless delivery, they're in my brain, but they're so buried back behind, Rock Me Amadeus. Actually, that song's all in German. I don't know the words. But anyway, it's just kind of amusing to me how, just trying to be self-aware of how I'm aging. All right, let's get on with it. Today, we've got the Minisforum UN100L. Is that what it is? UN100L. Okay, this is an entry-level computer. We're looking at about a $200 machine. Now, what we've got here is very bare bones. It's not a bare bones, but it's very low on everything in order to bring the price down. It's 8 gigs of RAM. It's 256 gigs of storage, solid state storage. And of course, we've got a US power adapter. They do make power adapters for Canada, Hong Kong, Australia, the UK, Japan, and Europe. So if you're ordering online, be sure you're ordering for the country you're in so you get the right power plug. That being said, let's take a look over at the Minisforum page to see how they're promoting this computer and what we should expect in the box here. Now, the links for both the Minisforum page as well as the link to Amazon, if you prefer to purchase this from Amazon, are in our video notes below the video. So the Minisforum UN100L, they're asking $209 US. There is a discount code to save $20, so it'll bring it down to $189. And if we scroll down, we can see our specifications here. Now, the Intel N100 is not a dual channel supported processor, so you're not going to have more than one memory socket. That's a limitation of that CPU. And in most cases, the official word is the most amount of RAM you can put into an N100 based computer is 16 gigs. I have seen people put 32 gigs in and have it work, but whether or not the CPU is actually using it, I don't know. If you feel like that's not enough for you, then you're going to need to spend more money to get something higher end. This computer is designed to be either a home theater PC or a PC for somebody who's getting online to check email, get on Facebook. I don't know, you play some solitaire or something. Don't get me wrong. When you compare the power of this computer to the power of computers from 10 years ago, this much power would have cost you 8 times more than what we're paying for it today. But also things have gotten more powerful, right? So for people that are accustomed to more powerful computers, they might turn their nose up at something like this. But not all of us have the money that we can go and get those high-end machines that depreciate very quickly. When you buy a cheaper machine, it can only depreciate very little because you already paid very little for it. Now, just because you paid very little for it doesn't mean that it's all around a dog. What it means is if you don't require a lot of processing power, if you're mostly a consumer and not a creator, and you're not a gamer, so if you're not creating and you're not gaming, this is all you need. And that probably represents 85% of all computer owners, quite frankly. You're not short on ports. You could use this computer for day trading. You could use this computer to power multiple monitors. Wi-Fi and Bluetooth are built in. And, you know, you've got some benchmarks here on how the N100 compares to, say, previous entry-level chips from Intel, such as the J4125 and the N5095. Well, of course, there is an N305, which is a little bit more powerful, but that's not the point of this build. The point of this build is to get you a quality machine where you're not paying for a bunch of stuff you're not using. Or you'd like a new computer, maybe you're still running an older operating system, you're worried about the end of Windows 10. You've got a computer that's not Windows 11 compatible, even though you've got a year and a half before that's an issue. Maybe you want to resolve that sooner rather than later. Well, for less than the price of the operating system from Microsoft's MSRP, you can get the whole computer with the operating system and have Windows 11. It's basically buying Windows 11 and getting the computer for free. I think about it that way. Now, I don't know if the RAM is soldered in or not. However, it looks like these images are backwards. This shows the M.2 drive and says it's DDR5 4800. And this shows M.2 2280 SATA and looks like it's showing us the RAM. I think they reversed these. Hey, Mara, can we let Minisforum know that I think they have their images backwards? Or the images for the UM100L, it shows the SATA drive, but they've labeled it as RAM, and it shows the RAM, and they've labeled it as the SATA drive. The people who developed the websites are not the engineers, just so you know. So I think they got their directions backwards. Here's an exploded view. As you can see, there is an option to add a 2.5-inch drive, which is unusual for a model like this to offer that. We're using, all of these mini PCs use a soldered on CPU. That's a laptop mobile CPU, which is always soldered on laptops. They're lower power. They're less power than their desktop equivalents, but they're still powerful, especially when you consider they don't consume as much electricity. They're cheaper to run. And because of that, they run cooler. So they're not difficult to cool, which means you're not going to get really loud fans. Now you can see here in this demo, they're running 3 monitors at the same time off this little guy. So, you know, don't turn your nose up so easily. It's actually quite impressive. If you look, we've got a reset switch here, a power switch, 2 USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type A's. We've got our 3.5 millimeter combo audio jack. That's for headphones, microphone, or a headset, which contains both headphones and a microphone in your headset. For the back of the machine, we've got our HDMI out. We have a USB 3.2 Type C that will support data and power delivery as well as video output through that one little plug there. So you can support a third monitor there. Well, in this case, that'd be the first monitor, the HDMI. The second monitor would be our DisplayPort over here. And then your third monitor would be through this USB Type C. Just get a USB Type C cable to HDMI or DisplayPort. Works no differently than any other video output you've ever used. If you've never used it before, there's really nothing else you need to do but get the cable. We've got a 1 gigabit network port, and you've got 2 more USB ports back here. These are USB 2, and we've got a 19-volt barrel style power jack. And it will support 4K video output to all 3 screens at the same time. And they've got some size comparison here of a can of soda or a beer. Give you some reference to the size. And this is a brand new model. There's no reviews on it yet because it just came out. Now, if we look over at Amazon, if you prefer to buy it from Amazon, you know, there's 30-day free returns on Amazon. I'm not quite sure how Minisforum handles returns, but if you're an Amazon Prime customer and you'd feel more secure buying from Amazon, it's certainly an option. And this is a little better equipped than what we have. This one has twice as much RAM and twice as much storage for the $200, right? We're looking at 16 gigs of RAM, 512 gigs of storage, and we're looking at $199. Again, We've got 49 ratings, so I guess this has been out. More people, I guess, have been buying it from Amazon as far as leaving reviews. What else? What else can I tell you? It's only a 6-watt CPU. It's a very low power. It's going to be very quiet. I'm just kind of curious. Do we click on? There might be a couple of different configurations here. Oh, I see. 8 gig of RAM and 256 is what I have that sells for $179. So what we're evaluating today is the $179 version. Now that is cheaper than Windows 11 Pro. It may be just slightly more money than Windows 11 Home if you were to buy it from Microsoft directly. So again, it's practically like buying the operating system at Microsoft's suggested retail price. Again, if you look up how much Microsoft sells Windows 11 Home for, it's almost like you're getting the mini PC for free. Now, all Minisforum computers all contain Windows 11 Home. No matter what level of computer you buy throughout 2024, Minisforum has said to me that they are putting Windows 11 Home on everything. Even the MS-01 server had Windows 11 Home on it. I'm not sure why they made this decision, but for home users, there's no reason to have Pro anyway. It's BitLocker, remote desktop, which you can use a third-party program for. Maybe virtualization, again, you can use a third-party program for that too. Most home users don't use any of that stuff. Logging into a server, you need Windows Pro for that. Home users aren't logging into servers, generally speaking. So there's no reason to feel like you need Pro. You're not really going to get anything out of it personally, unless one of those things I just mentioned is important to you. And if it is, you represent a very small percentage of home users. So in any event, let's take a look at it. Now we know what we should expect. Let me go back over to camera 1. Here I am. Now I've already taken this out of the box and updated it just so we're clear. So the plastic's already been removed. Apart from updating it, just kind of running it through my normal cleanup routine, the things you always see me do. It's getting really repetitive. It's very time consuming to wait for downloads, like watching grass grow. So go ahead and take care of that. That being said, it does appear Microsoft released a couple updates today. So I'm sure there's probably some updates waiting for us as a result. However, as far as I know, they have not addressed the KB, whatever it was, 44041. That's still a problem, and Microsoft will address it. I don't recommend you try and fix that yourself. Microsoft will, just be patient. Microsoft will have a fix. Now, we open this up, and we have our typical little tips card here and our instruction manual. In the box, we have our mini PC. This is silver. In order to open this up, we will have to remove these rubber feet to get into there. That's a famous way Minisforum does things. I'm not a fan of that. I don't want to have to remove rubber feet to have to get in there. But I'm not the engineer and I'm not the decision maker. But I sure wish Minisforum would either move those rubber feet away from the screws or mold these rubber feet with holes so that we can access the screws without having to remove the rubber feet. Every time you take the rubber feet off, they just don't stick as well. The first time, second time is probably not a problem. But by the third or fourth time you open that up, probably gonna have to get some glue or something because they ain't gonna stick anymore. Is that proper English? They ain't gonna stick anymore. So we'll take a look at that, but there's probably no reason to get in here anyway. This is not designed to be upgraded. This is designed to be a very basic solution for somebody that's just a basic computer user. Most computer users are consumers. They are not creators. They're not developers. They're not power users. They're just everyday folks doing everyday things from Etsy and Insta to X and Facebook. Maybe they're going on Craigslist. Maybe they're buying plane tickets or paying bills online. They're certainly got email. They've got friends and family they keep in touch with. Maybe they want to share photos. This is going to do all that super easy. It's no sweat for them. You know, don't buy a 2-seater sports car if what you need is an SUV, right? You're not going to get 6 family members into that 2-seater sports car. So don't complain about how terrible the sports car is just because it doesn't fit your needs. Okay, it's these machines, there's a variety of mini PCs to choose from. And there's a variety so that you as a consumer have choice. You have the choice if you want to say, look, computers aren't that important to me. I want something reliable that's going to last, and I don't want to spend a lot of money for it. On the other hand, we have people that say, however fast that is, it's not fast enough. However much storage it comes with, it's not enough. However much RAM it comes with, it's not enough. Nothing's ever enough for these people. And I said NAND. That was like a Freudian slip there with storage. As long as you've got the wallet to go along with the complaining, no problem. There's nothing money can't solve. But not everybody has that as an option. So what are they supposed to do? Just do without? I have to tell you, for someone such as my mother or my father, a system like this would be the best system they've ever owned. And they would love it. They would have nothing negative to say. It's not like, oh, it's not good enough. You know, we have different levels of computing because there are different levels of people. Both in how much they value the computer. Some people love it. Some people don't even use a computer anymore. They've switched to their cell phone or their tablet, and they're done. They don't even want a computer anymore. So if you were somebody like Stephen King, if you were a novelist, you don't need a big, heavy, bulky computer to write a novel. Although Stephen King, I'm sure, has plenty of money and he can buy whatever he wants. Whether he needs it or not. Let's get this thing plugged in. So I've got a power plug-in right over here. And then I will bring this up to the camera and show you close up. It should match everything we just looked at online. There's the front. There's the top. Sides. Nothing really on the side. There is a little SD card reader. Back matches what we just looked at. We've already gone through it. And the bottom, you can replace the storage. I see the storage right there, but I think the RAM is soldered on. It may not be, but I think it might be because I'm not seeing it. To take this off, we'll have to remove these rubber feet, and we can do that. In fact, we will. But first, let's power it up. We'll get an idea for noise, performance, general stuff. We'll take a look at the crystal disk mark info. This is not a rocket. We could buy a rocket if we want to spend more money. I can't keep emphasizing that enough. Nobody's ripping anybody off here. This is a very good value for what you get, and it's coming from a name brand manufacturer that's trusted in the industry. You know, if Sony made this, it'd be a lot more money. That's all I'm saying. All right, let's go ahead and plug this in. This is our dongle for a keyboard and mouse. We'll power that. Did I not plug in power? Probably need the power cable. It doesn't run off osmosis. Wouldn't it be great if it did? Talk about low power, especially for me. All right, we'll plug in the power, and now I'm going to turn that on, and the power light goes blue. And then we'll switch over to our HDMI input, and I'll go ahead and put myself in a corner here. There we go. There's our post screen. And remember, as we watch this boot, we're looking at a sub $200 machine, brand new under warranty. So I'm kind of curious why I'm not seeing the little circle going around. I have found with some computers, they don't like my little keyboard and mouse dongle. And it like causes some computers, and this is true of any USB device, by the way. Some computers don't like some USB devices. And I'm wondering if my little dongle is causing this machine to hesitate before it's booting because it doesn't even look like it's started yet. And even though this is a budget machine, we should have already been in Windows by now. And this is why I like filming these videos live, because stuff like this would normally get edited out while we figure out what's holding it back. So I'm going to go ahead and just turn it off here for a minute. And just for the sake of experimentation, I'm going to unplug my keyboard and mouse dongle here. If this causes, if this now boots, that'll be the second system lately that's been affected by this dongle. And I'm wondering if maybe this dongle has been damaged. The good news is I have spares of the keyboard and mouse that I can just maybe retire this. Yeah, you see how that booted? I think something's finally gone wrong. You know, I plug this in and out constantly, and it's not really designed for that, at least not to the level that I do it. But I do have spares of these. And I bought this keyboard and mouse on Amazon, and you can too. They have built-in rechargeable batteries that are recharged through USB. And the batteries last me about 3 or 4 months before they need to be recharged. Now that we're booted, I'm going to go ahead and plug this back in, and I'll use the back this time. I'll use one of the USB 2 ports. No sense wasting a USB port. Not like I'm going to type any faster. So again, nothing to blame with the computer there. If you've ever had an issue with your computer booting slowly, check to see if you've got anything USB, especially a storage device. Those should be unplugged when you're booting. Any USB storage, sometimes printers can cause that. USB printers I've seen, not too often, but it can. I've seen bad USB cables, whether they're worn out or an animal has chewed through them in the house, or what else is USB? Any type of USB device. If your system is booting really, really slowly, and it hasn't done that before, first thing I would do is shut it all down, unplug any USB storage first, and then try and boot it again. And if it boots up fine, you know your answer. The older your USB storage device is, the more likely it's going to cause that symptom. If you've had this USB external drive for 8 years, and you're plugging it into your brand new $2,000 computer, there's a very good chance it's going to cause that computer to limp at boot up time because it's not equal. It's an older tech. So anyway, just FYI. As we're here at the desktop, if I go full screen, you can see I've already done my whole routine with regards to the setup, right? I've gone through and created the user account. I've downloaded the Windows updates. I've run Crystal Disk Mark. And the results of that show that were, it says SATA, but that's clearly NVMe. Because SATA would peak out about 550. So this looks like NVMe times 2 maybe, instead of times 4. That would be my guess. And again, I've got the cheapest model you can buy. If we go down here to the Start menu and go to our System Properties, you can verify with me that we have the N100, and it will turbo up faster than this. I'm sure that 800 is its idling speed. 8 gigs of installed RAM. We're running Windows 11 Home, 22H2, so we have not been offered 23H2 yet, and I will wait for that to be offered to me when I go to Windows Update. If you look in the Device Manager, again, we right-click on the Start menu and go to Device Manager, you'll see that everything is happy, and we have a security device, which is what's required for Windows 11 compatibility, regardless of its Home or Pro. You've got to have the Trusted Platform module, or you're not compatible. So Minisforum's not pulling any fast ones where they bypass or circumvent Microsoft security requirements and sell a machine that's not Windows 11 with Windows 11 on it. Minisforum don't play that, and so do know that there are unscrupulous vendors out there. Pretty much anywhere mini PCs are sold. Amazon's not immune from it. If the price is too good to be true, well, you know the saying, right? If we jump over here just quickly to Windows Update, just kind of curious. Since I just updated it a few days ago, kind of curious if we'll either get offered 23H2 yet, or if there's something else it's going to offer us. Now, stuff like this, I can't emphasize enough how important it is that you keep your computer up to date. I also make sure that I turn on the latest updates, and I'll go to advanced options and I'll make sure to turn these two on and the bottom one on. Then I'll check and see under optional if we have any available. If so, I will grab those. I like to be fully updated. Gives me warm fuzzies. This, what is this? This is an antivirus update, so that's not a big. So that's installed. We'll close that out. And as you can see, we've got Wi-Fi, we've got Bluetooth, we've got audio, we've got 3 video outputs. We have USB 3, USB 2, and a USB-C. It's low power. There is no noise coming from this whatsoever. It is perfectly silent. This is not something we run Prime 95 on, okay? It's not a powerful machine, and it's not designed to be slammed like that for 20 minutes. It's almost like cruelty to computers to do it. Whether or not it would pass that, I don't even care, because that's just PC abuse. Let's go ahead and shut it down. We'll take a look at the inside of it. How about that? Let's go here and shut that down. You'll see it's pretty quick. You see how fast that shut down? Now, I'm going to go ahead and boot it up just so if you want to time how long it takes to boot up. Ready? 3, 2, 1, hour. And compare this to how long your computer takes to boot up. I know some of my audience will be turning their nose up. And I'm telling you, as an N100 goes, as low spec as this is, it's way faster than I expected it to be. Obviously, it's not going to make your internet any faster. So, you know, if you've got basic internet or high-speed internet, that's not going to be a bottleneck issue with this PC regardless. So that's our boot up time. Let's go ahead and shut it back down. And let's take the bottom off here. Take a look at the insides. So as that shuts down, we'll come over here, go full screen back to camera 1, and let's bring out the overhead camera. Bear with me here just a second as I adjust. All right. Good for me. That up a little bit. Up, up, up. This will give us our top-down shot of what's inside. So you get to see how the magic's done. What's that? No, I think this will be fine. So in order to do this, I want to, first of all, let's go back over here to close-up camera, turn on close-up camera. So I'm going to go ahead and just pull all these plugs. That out. Take that out. That out. Take that out. Okay. Move the keyboard and mouse over so I have room to work. So underneath these 4 feet, I'll move this back towards me more. Underneath these 4 feet are the screws. So it's pretty easy to get to. You just have to take the feet off. Now, these feet don't stick on, actually. They've got a little nub that fits into a hole. So that's better than sticky. So we'll go ahead and, that makes this much easier. Sometimes when it comes to the, see how easy this is to come out? Sometimes the sticky stuff can be very difficult to break free. And sometimes the sticky tape sticks to the computer instead of to the foot. So you can see with these feet, they have a little lip on them. So that's a welcome change, but I'd still prefer to not have to take off the feet. Here in Phoenix, it's very dry, our climate, and stuff that's rubber or plastic tends to get brittle over time. Might take a couple years, but if they were just left alone and we didn't have to remove them and flex them to get in there, they'd probably last longer. But I'm sort of predicting a future that may not happen. Now inside, we've got a screw underneath each foot. 1, a 2, a 3, look how big that screw is. A 4. Suppose I could take all these out. It's not, I got that one all the way out. There we go. Now you'll see we've got an arrow indicating to put this back on. This goes to the front. This is the front. So when we take this plastic bottom piece off, we'll pay attention to where the front is. We've got 4 screws right here. Those 4 screws are there to mount a 2.5-inch SATA drive. You see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. That's going to line up when we put that in there. Did they give us a cable? Oh, they gave us a couple extra feet. Look at that. It's like they read my mind. And we've got 4 screws to secure the SATA drive. So there probably, I mean, there has to be a cable in here, right? If you're going to plug in a SATA drive, you're going to need power and data. So then the next trick is how we get this lifted up. See how I'm using the screw to create leverage here? And once we get one side up, be gentle just in case there's any wires attached. First time opening this up, I don't know what's under there. Okay, very good. So we use something to point. What can I point with? Use my little dental pick here. This is our solid state drive right here. It labels as 256 gig. This is our CMOS battery. This is the cable that's just got some tape on it here. That would go into a SATA drive, whether it's an SSD or mechanical 2.5-inch drive. It's already hooked up to the motherboard, and you'll just remove this tape and plug that into your drive. This is our Wi-Fi card. It's soldered down, so we cannot change it. And as far as RAM, where is our RAM? That right there, that's our memory card reader. It's a little SD card reader. Sometimes they call it a TF card. So RAM appears to be soldered in. So if you're going to order the 8 gig model or the 16 gig model, you will not be able to change your mind. Probably want to order the 16 gig model. It's only, what, 20 more bucks? Better to have it and not need it than the other way around. This cable here, that's what our CMOS battery is getting power. Just doesn't look like it's focusing right. That's about all there is to it. I'm actually surprised that it has the ability. What is going on with my focus? Bear with me for a second here. Sometimes I like the old cameras better where you can, you know, grab the lens and spin it for focus. Anyway, yeah, there's not a lot to upgrade here. You can put bigger storage in and additional, you can replace this with bigger storage if you want to. There's no limit to what you can put in here. As far, you know, if they make it, it'll work. And then it's not SATA. They said it was SATA, but it's only got the one notch cut out. So that's going to be NVMe. Plus, we're seeing faster than 550, so we knew that was NVMe. And yeah, I don't know which of these is the RAM module, but we've got a RAM module soldered in here somewhere. Not sure where. Remember, an N100 is not a dual channel processor, so there won't be dual channel on any N processor. It's how Intel can market it for less money. It's not as configurable, and it's not intended to be some secret, way that you can circumvent buying a higher end processor and then overclocking your N100 and feel like you're getting away with something you're not supposed to do. It's just not the way they do it. They want to make affordable alternatives for people. And there's been a history of this where people in the past, especially in the 90s, with the Celerons would overclock them and get them as fast as, Pentiums. And Intel is aware of that, and so they don't allow that stuff anymore. And they find other ways that they can reduce the cost of the processor by minimizing what the processor is capable of. And in this case, that includes 16 gig RAM limit is supposed to be the limit. Like I said, I've seen people put 32 in, but I don't know that the CPU can actually use it. It'll recognize it in most cases, but whether or not it's actually using it, I don't know. As far as Intel's concerned, if you want to take that risk, that's entirely up to you. They don't care, but they're going to tell you 16 gig is your limit. So if you order this with 16 gig and a 512 gig NVMe drive for $20 more than what we have here, that would be my advice. And then just never plan on upgrading it. When you feel like you want to upgrade, just buy a new box. And then, then you have a spare box that you can use. Trying to figure out how these feet go back in. Then you have a spare box that you can use, either as a backup machine or just use it as connected to the TV. You can take an old TV and turn it into a smart TV by just plugging one of these into the HDMI port of your television. You could travel with it, right? It's pretty well bulletproof. There's really nothing to break on here. There's no moving parts other than fan. What am I hearing moving? Oh, I think it's that connector. I kind of loosened it up. And very portable, so you can plug it into the hotel TV. Bring a little keyboard and mouse like what I have here. They're very portable. Mitch took a keyboard and mouse set just like this with him when he went to Vietnam a couple of years ago. Or Thailand, it was Thailand. Regardless, it doesn't change the idea of traveling with it and using it in the hotel. Using the Wi-Fi to connect to the hotel Wi-Fi. And then if anything happens, it's not like you've lost a lot of money. It's not like you're bringing an Apple product that costs thousands of dollars that may also be more desirable for a thief to want to steal. So lots of different ways you can use a machine like this, as well as just being your everyday home machine, your daily driver, as they call it. Let me get this moved aside and let's take a look in the chat, see if you have any questions or concerns for me here. So for a little bit. And my glasses. Let's see what you guys have been saying here. Let me scroll up as far as I can go. Whoops, I went too far. Let's try that again. Okay, there's the top. Martin wants to know how many more mini PCs are still waiting in the wings to be reviewed. Geez, I don't know, like 100? I mean, you're talking about what we have here in studio? We've got another mini PC review coming up tomorrow, and that's it for this week. And beyond that, I won't say. Let's see. Stuart Wheeler says on the Amazon page that's advertising the UN100, it's connected to what seems to be a fold-up display with an attached keyboard. And he's interested to know what that is. Nick Poverman says HDMI and DisplayPort. That is great at this price point. Matt agrees it's a good price for this mini. Nick Poverman mentions if HP or Dell made this, it'd probably be 3 times the price. He's not wrong. Someone says the video froze up. When we have inclement weather like this, if we're going to have any problems during a live stream, it's always going to be during a storm, right? So we're having some pretty severe storm weather, and we'll do the best we can, but that's probably why that may be happening. Frank Jimmy said the boot time on this was under 12 seconds. Chris Johnson said it was a little less than 15. Either way, it's fast. Stuart Wheeler wants to know if I can run a YouTube video on this and see how quick it is. Yeah, we can. In fact, I didn't check the device manager to see who makes the Ethernet card. I usually do that because people sometimes want to put a Linux variant on here. So let's plug this back in. Good questions. Plug this back in. Plug my dongle in. Wait, I'm going to plug it into the USB 2 port. Back on. And back over to our HDMI input. So I'll just turn the camera off, right? Because we just want to see the screen anyway, right? So let's also keep in mind, I don't have a very fast internet connection here. I don't know that this YouTube test is going to be fair, but we can see what it's going to do. The internet connection here is only about 30 megs down. So we're going to get about 3 to 3.3 megabytes per second on a download. So depending on what resolution we're picking on our YouTube video, I want you to bear in mind it may not be the PC, but rather my connection. And I just clicked the wrong button. Hold on a minute. Let me try that one more time. Full screen. There we go. Okay, so looking in the device manager, I want to see who's making our network interface card. Intel. So I have a Intel wireless card, and our network interface card is a Realtek PCIe gigabit Ethernet family controller. So that's Intel for the wireless and Bluetooth. It's an AC 9560, and Realtek for our wired LAN port. If we bring up YouTube, this is probably going to ask us a million questions, right? That's so annoying. I'm so glad Chrome doesn't do that. Let's open it back up time, and we'll visit you. Hold on, my keyboard's not working. There it is. YouTube.com. And we'll go to this great creator I know. He's a cool dude. We'll go to his channel. And we'll look at yesterday's video. Skip this ad. Thanks on that, because I'm not signed in. I already have all that. What resolution are we at? Probably 1080. Wow, this shows it at 2160. Let's bring up 2160. And then what else can we? Quality, playback, subtitles, annotations, those captions. Let's fast forward this to where we actually have some. Here we go. Matt says to play a song. I cannot play a song because of copyright infringement. Sorry. Not quite sure why you think a song would be any different. Where's that button for stats for nerds? I thought that was over here. No? Hey, Mara, how do I get the stats for nerds? Oh, I found it. I just right-click on the video. It's got 7 drop frames. That's not too bad, especially again, we're doing this in 4K, which is going to consume the most amount of bandwidth, which is probably pushing what bandwidth I have available here at Studio B. It's not gigabit, unfortunately. So the lowest tier you can get, and I cannot change it. So that's what is what it is. That's why the streaming computer is on a separate network and nothing else is on that network, so as not to interfere with our stream. But yeah, it looks good to me. I don't know what you're looking for. There you go. All right. Other requests? Go back to camera 1. See what else you've got in the chat room. Martin says the website doesn't mention a VESA mount on this, nor is a VESA mount included. That's a good point. And looking on the bottom of the machine, there is no VESA mount option on this. The holes in the bottom are strictly there for the option of adding a 2.5-inch drive. That's a good catch. But in the box, all we have left is an HDMI cable and the screws for if you want to add that 2.5-inch drive. And then there's just 2 extra rubber feet. And I think it's great that they've included the extra rubber feet. Again, there's not going to be a lot of extras at this price point. Extra cost extra. So you got to pick one or the other. Do you want as much power as you can get under $200, brand new under warranty with Windows 11 compatibility? Or do you want something that has all the bells, whistles, and features? If so, you're going to need, in my opinion and in my experience, you're going to need to raise your budget. Stuart Wheeler says, thanks, Carey. That's about as much as my mom would need for a PC. I think I may have found her a solution to search her a new PC. For sure. Yeah. Absolutely. The other option that I see a lot of people using are the all-in-one PCs, which are just a bear to work on if you ever have to. And unfortunately, when the PC goes, the monitor's no good. So at least this way, you can hook it up either to a monitor or even to a television if you want to. So to me, that's way better than having everything all in one little piece. Matt says it'll be good for a kid's room. Potentially, yeah. Nick Poverman said he's going to the Dominican Republic for 11 days. Nice. Hey, be safe out there. Stay in the resort. Don't go outside the fence, man. I want you to get kidnapped. It's a beautiful but dangerous country. PSC Computers Missouri says it seems easy to service. There's not much to service here. Just the storage. That's it. Nothing else can really be serviced. Martin says the RAM chips may be on the other side of the circuit. Either way, they appear to be soldered in. Look, Greeny, I think 16 gigs should be the minimum for RAM. I'm kind of on the boat with you on that, especially if you can't upgrade it. You know, it's not that much more money. I would argue that maybe selling the 8 gig RAM these days is probably underselling it. On the other hand, if every penny matters, this machine's running pretty good, I think you'll admit. It only has 8 gigs of RAM in it, and look how snappy it is. It depends on how you use the machine, too. Some people are just more demanding than others. And if you've got the money to back up your demands, all the power to you. But for the rest of us that are squeaking by, maybe even living off credit cards, spending more than we make, something like this is probably still attainable, and it's a viable solution for a lot of people. Okay, I think I'm caught up here in the chat. Any final questions? Otherwise, I think we'll wrap it up for today. Claudio said they ordered a more fine mini PC, one that I reviewed. Well, Claudio, let us know what you think of that. My opinions are just that. You know, I'm coming from a place of a technician in business to earn a profit and to sell my customers quality and to be there for them if they need me. But I also, at the bottom line, is, you know, I'm not a charity. I have to make money, but I can't be like, you know, super expensive or I won't get any customers. And I can't be super cheap or I'll go out of business from not being able to make enough money, especially if there's any support calls. So it's always difficult for me to find that tightrope walk, essentially, where I'm making a little bit of profit. As long as I sell quality items that don't require much in the way of support, then I have a profit. Now, I don't know with regards to this specific model what support would be like. However, I have had a lot of experience with Minisforum PCs, and I can tell you that universally they're built very well. So as long as this is built with the typical Minisforum quality control, I really wouldn't have any hesitation in recommending something this inexpensive. It's not like it's a big amount of money you're risking. And if you ordered it from Amazon, you have 30 days to return it for free if you don't like it, or really, there's no requirement for the return. You can just change your mind. At the end of the day, it's not what I think that matters. It's what you think that matters. And unless you've got it in front of you when you're using it, your speculation is probably wrong. Just saying. It's very easy to assume the worst. Until you get it in front of you and you can verify your speculation, you're probably wrong. I'm just telling you, it's not a bad little computer. And when you consider, we still spend over $200 just for storage, for crying out loud. I've spent $300 for RAM the other day. That's just RAM. That's not a motherboard, a CPU, a cooler, a case, Wi-Fi, or Bluetooth. It's not including the operating system or the power supply. That's just the RAM. Now, granted, it was 96 gigs of RAM, but those are two different people. You know, the one buying 96 gigs of RAM is not the person buying this for themselves, but it may be something they want to buy for a loved one or a friend who maybe is calling them all the time with issues with their old computer that they just keep alive. And for crying out loud, let's just get them something new. Merry Christmas, happy birthday, whatever excuse, so that they'll get off your back. You know, the support calls can go away. So even if you're at the higher level, you probably know people who reach out to you all the time, especially the older the machine is they have. And then, you know, how much time are you spending, how often, continually fixing their problems? Might be worth it for you to make this small investment and give it to them so they'll leave you alone. Food for thought is all I'm saying. Also, if you want something inexpensive to have for a home theater PC, you don't need anything fancy for that. And you want something small, quiet, and out of the way and capable. This checks all those boxes. And OG Gaming mentions the perfect size for traveling. Sure, you don't need to bring a laptop with you. Those are pricey and they're often stolen, very easily damaged if dropped. This can take a drop. I'm not going to guarantee from how high onto what kind of surface, but there's no moving parts other than the CPU cooling fan, so there's really nothing to break. Drop it from a high enough distance onto a hard enough surface, anything will break. But you know, if I were to drop this onto the carpet from my height, it all be nothing. If I did the same with a laptop, you're typically going to lose a hinge, maybe crack a screen. If you accidentally sit on your laptop, probably going to break it. If you sit on this, it won't hurt it. So that's the robustness to consider as well. All right. Sherry McFarland joins us. Hey, Sherry. She says there's a lot of great portable monitors out. Absolutely. You could take a portable monitor with you, or just use, if you're staying in a hotel, right? If you're traveling, or a B&B, just use the monitor, the TV rather, that they have. They almost always have HDMI input. So all you need is an HDMI cable and your power cable, some way to keyboard and mouse. And hopefully they have Wi-Fi you can jump on. You're good to go. Rock and roll. Off to the races. It's that easy. No batteries to worry about. All right, guys, I think that'll wrap it up for me for today. Thank you guys so much for joining. Let me check the phone here real quick before we wrap up. I've been remiss in not checking that today. My thanks, of course, to the friends over at Minisforum. They don't pay us for this content. They send us this product for free in exchange for us to give it an honest review. There's no contract. There's no prior agreement. It's just a gentleman's agreement saying, if you send it, I'll review it, for better or for worse. It looks like we're all caught up. And a shout out once again for all of my members. Thank you for supporting the channel. We can't do this without you. And for all the super chat contributions, a shout out one more time. Mark Gaines with a 10-pound contribution. And thank you to PSC Computers Missouri and Planet Cryos. Thank you to Ben Laird and Paul O'Brien. And of course, our friend Gregory Howard. A shout out to our friend Buster. Thank you again for that very generous Amazon gift card. It was unexpected. And a shout out to our friends over at Instant House Call, Acronis, VIP CDK deals. Get a great price on a legitimate copy of Windows 10 or 11 or Office. Everything's guaranteed. Password manager, RoboForm. If you're not using a password manager, I don't know how you do it. I've been using a password manager now for about 15 years. There ain't no way I'm going to a pen and paper. That ain't working. RoboForm. I got to be honest, every one of these, I don't know how I live without RoboForm or VIP CDK deals with the number of licenses I buy. Acronis with the number of machines that I upgrade drives on and do my own backups. And what do you think my backups are worth to me? And then, of course, Instant House Call. I don't have to get in the car anymore and drive and take all that time and gas when I can connect instantly over the internet and solve the majority of computer issues. The only time I really need to be on site is if I need to turn a screwdriver, right? Bad power supply, no internet connection, something like that. And that doesn't happen very often. More often than not, customers are calling me for something I can fix either over the telephone or by connecting remotely. So over the telephone would be one I got today. A customer called me and said, we moved a computer in the office and it worked fine. But a half an hour later, our internet went down, like for everybody. Well, I can tell you moving a computer isn't going to cause the whole company to go down. Just have a few plugs. Computer doesn't care where it's plugged in. And it did work for a half an hour, so we know that they didn't do anything wrong. The fact that their internet went down was just coincidence. So I said, let me have you go to the cable modem and unplug it and plug it back in again. And they didn't know where the cable modem was. I had to describe it to them. And if they couldn't find it, I would have to get in the car, drive for 30 miles and unplug and plug in for them. That's a long drive to do something that simple. And they'd have to wait for me, still unable to do their jobs without internet access. And furthermore, if that doesn't work, that means it's on the cable company's side and they're going to have to call the cable company and have somebody come out, which means the soonest that's going to happen is tomorrow. So anyway, I explained what it looked like. I described it. They found it. They unplugged it. They waited a minute as I recommended. They plugged it back in. It takes a 2 or 3 minute time period for it to renegotiate with the ISP, the internet service provider. Boom, the entire office is back up. Internet's working again. So in that case, I didn't need remote access. And that's the way it used to be back in the day before we had remote access, is you hoped the call you were going to get is one you could just deal with over the phone. There's nothing worse than going out. And of course, these calls are always going to come in when we have this inclement weather. That's when I'm going to get the most calls for computer issues, regardless if it's some lightning that hit close by, power outages, internet outages, because cables might be exposed out in the where they're installed outdoors, but because we're always hot and dry, an exposed cable doesn't have any negative impact on your internet service. But the minute it gets wet, that's when everything, that's when the phone starts ringing. And then when we deal with wet cables, that's usually a cable company solution, nothing I can fix. And then for everything else, computer maintenance, helping customers with backups and that sort of thing, I do all that remotely using Instant House Call. Now, there are links for everything, whether we're talking about the product today, the Minisforum UN100L, or Acronis, RoboForm, Instant House Call, or VIP CDK deals. All those links with specific discounts just for you guys. These are exclusive discounts only for you, my viewers. These companies support us. I hope you'll consider supporting them back. Thank you for supporting me and for being here, joining me in these live videos. Thank you, of course, to Mara, who does our thumbnails and set up all our videos and negotiates with the companies to get us more products to review or find us other supporters, right? Companies that want to support us. If it's a company I believe in, if it's a company I use myself, welcome in. I'd love to be associated with companies that are a high value, sell at a fair price, and additionally offer you guys an even steeper discount. They're few and far between, let me tell you. So we appreciate them. We appreciate you. That'll wrap it up for me for today. We're back live tomorrow. We'll be live again at 1 o'clock Phoenix time. That's 12 p.m. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern. And until next time, bye for now.